I'm your host, Jeff Sart. We're going to take you behind the scenes with the craft distillers who are pouring their heart and soul into crafting the next version of America's spirit. This is the Great American Whiskey Cookers. The boys at Pursuit Spirits, Kenny and Ryan, they're blending up some great whiskeys, and people can't get enough of their Double Oaked Bourbon. Kenny and Ryan guide us through a tasting of this hard-to-find spirit. If you are lucky enough to grab one, well, you know what we are talking about. If you haven't had it yet, be on the lookout. Welcome to this edition of the Great American Whiskey Cookers. I'm Jeff, your host, and I'm here in Louisville, Kentucky at Pursuit Spirits. I'm standing with Kenny and Ryan. We're tasting through a whole number of spirits, and what is on the end here that you're going to walk me through?
Well, this is our new fan favorite, the crowd favorite, the one that everybody's starting to love, Double Oaked Bourbon.
Okay, so talk to me about that.
So this, again, is coming from a vast amount of experiments that we did and just trying to figure out, well, what is the next expression that we're trying to find? What do we want to find that is going to captivate people? And we can't deny by looking at the market that the word double oaked is something that people are going like, oh, I'd love to try double oaked. I want to try this. But going into our old-fashioned ways of saying, well, we want to keep doing things differently. We can't keep doing the same thing everybody else does, because if you're thinking of double oak, most people are thinking, okay, more oak, more tannins, rebarreling, same thing.
Right.
And we said, well, let's put a different spin on this. Ryan and I, we've been in whiskey for over a decade now, maybe a little bit 2 decades. A decade of pure like romanticizing it, maybe in like 2 or 3 decades of just like drinking whiskey, but we haven't had the opportunity of trying whiskeys from decades and generations of long ago. And we found that when you taste something that is a dusty bourbon, it has these characteristics that are unlike anything else today. And we really fell in love with that butterscotch flavor, that Werther's, that caramel that is really hard to replicate in today's whiskey. And we said, well, what if we find a way that we can try to map that and make that into our own?
Okay.
And so Ryan was kind of at the forefront of this, and he says, well, let's partner with Independent Stave and all these different kind of people to try to create a stave foot finish that would really map to what we were doing.
Yeah, and so what we did was we looked to the wine world and their experiment with French oak. If you've ever had a Chardonnay and it's like, buttery and oaky, and I was like, well, let's look at what they're using. And so we ran tons of experiments and we landed on a 36-month seasoned French oak stave, medium toasted, so it's the same bourbon, the triple mash bourbon that we tasted with our small batch here. And then we finish it with those stave profiles. Now, I do pick barrels that are more like Linda, that caramel butterscotch flavor forward. But the French oak that's 36 months seasoned, medium toasted, really just kind of ramps that up.
Okay.
And so this brings me back to like my, the bourbons that were made in the 70s and 80s, those dusty, those caramel Werther's bombs. So that's what I really wanted to recreate with our double oak expression.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, this has been something that we came out with, and this for the longest time, and still at this very moment, it's really just a distillery only purchase.
So you can only get it here.
You can only get it here, and that's because we want to make sure that we had a testing ground. We know what we like. We think we know what we like.
Right.
We have proven ourselves wrong time and time again that maybe we don't match to the broader market and scale. So we have to kind of start trickling it out. Like, is this going to work? Is this the flavor profile that people want? And lo and behold, thankfully, I think that we hit a home run with this one too.
Well, yeah, so let's talk about that real quick. So this is the first bottling, right?
Correct.
And how many do you have left?
0.
A 0.
Yeah. As we were filming today, you saw the last bottles roll out the gift shop.
Yeah.
But have no fear, batch 2 is ready to be bottled next week.
So batch 2 is coming. Batch 1 is already sold out. So I think it's fair to say that it's a fan favorite.
I mean, this is one of those things that even being a distillery only, we've had a ton of people come through these doors. They don't even drink whiskey. They're like, hey, my cousin from North Carolina can't come here, and he told me that I had to come here and get him a bottle. So people are coming in from all around because they're calling in favors just to make them come get a bottle.
That's awesome. Well,
Yep.
I'm ready to get into it.
Yeah.
All right.
Cheers.
Cheers.
It's on the nose.
The nose is, I mean, it's got that butterscotch Werther's. I mean, it's just,
It's pronounced.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah, so you got that butterscotch caramel Werther's, as you mentioned. On the mid palate, you got, because I still wanted that fruitiness. So you got that citrus, the fruitiness, and then you got that nice toasted oak finish profile that just sits there with you. I mean, this is like dessert in a glass.
This is like dessert in a glass.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is, oh, goodness. I can see why it's sold out.
Yeah. And I mean, like I said, there's a good healthy balance of what you get in a decadent bourbon with a little bit of extra oak added to it, but then it just just rounds itself out with all those butterscotch, those original. Like, I always love those bullseyes that have the caramel on the outside, the cream in the middle.
Yeah.
And, I mean, like that's honestly like what I feel like this is. And that's a guilty pleasure of mine if I'm ever on a road trip.
Wow, this is great. Well, unfortunately, you can't get batch 1 anymore. It's all gone. Batch 2's coming, right?
And then batch 3, and then batch 4. Like, we're not going to stop. I think this is once you find something that's a home run people love, you want to kind of build on top of it.
Right.
It'll be distillery only as much as we can for a little bit, and then it'll eventually roll itself out to all the markets.
Fantastic. So where do they find you? How do they get in touch with you? How do they get the products?
Yeah, so the best way to be able to do it is go and visit us at pursuitspirits.com. You can scroll down a little bit on the page. You can see all of our distributed states from about 13 plus moving into more markets all the time. You can also get it shipped to yourself through our online partner over at sealbox.com. And if you happen to be visiting in Louisville, you're coming here to the Mecca of bourbon and you're gonna go visit everybody else. So make sure you stop here, visit us at Pursuit Spirits in Louisville, Kentucky. We have a lot of great experiences. We have a fantastic team here that will show you a superb time, but you can also get distillery only bottles like this as well. And then if you want to learn more about how we got started, how we try to talk about everything that happens inside the bourbon industry, go and subscribe to our podcast, Bourbon Pursuit, on all your different major platforms, Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, YouTube, you name it, everything like that as well. And if you also like to see how a bourbon brand is built, go and visit us, again, on all those platforms with another podcast called Behind the Pursuit.
And don't forget, there's one more.
Oh, yeah, we got this whole thing on Whiskey Row that we're building. I don't know. It's just another couple million that we're throwing at the wall, and it's like, we'll see what happens. But yeah, so if you are coming here in Q1 of 2025, we're going to have our brand new visitor experience on Whiskey Row. We're going to be bringing in more experiences, more tasting rooms, cocktails, all that sort of stuff. So you can come and find us down there on Whiskey Row on Main Street in downtown Louisville.
Fantastic. You can find us on all the socials, Facebook, Instagram, hit our YouTube site, like our videos. You can hit our website, get some nice merchandise, or you can step it up, go to Patreon, become a member, support the show, and we can make it out to even more distilleries. So I'm Jeff for the Great American Whiskey Cookers. Until next time, if you can't be good,
be good at it.
A lot of bottles that we get sent to
To
review and taste from everybody. Obviously, we can't get to it all, so this is the bottles that we tried for whiskey quickies and reviews, and then we have a whole nother room of bottles and stuff that get sent to us. So we got enough bottles for about 10 pandemics.